it is the biggest story because it also, of course, was discussed for over 2.5 hours in the Supreme Court. Viewers, after that discussion, after that hearing, which was quite dramatic as the division bench found itself split right down the center, and therefore a 3-judge bench was called into play, and that bench has halted the Karnataka state administration's decision to allow Hindu groups to conduct Ganesh Puja tomorrow on the occasion of Ganesh Chaturthi in Bengaluru, after the Waqf Board came out and said that the land belonged to it. The Supreme Court has told the Hindu groups now to hold their puja elsewhere. Yesterday, the High Court, if you remember, viewers, had allowed the state administration to let Hindu groups pray at the Maidan in the Chamarajpet area of Bengaluru, citing India's secular and tolerant tradition. In fact, the High Court had also said that the interests of Brotherhood would be better served if the Waqf Board would allow the puja for a limited period of time. In fact, we are told that the Hindu groups only wanted it for 2 days. While the title of the land is disputed, the Waqf says that it's Eidgah land. The Hindus say that there is no such record of that, i.e. on the books, and that there is a case pending in the courts. The Waqf Board moved the Supreme Court, saying that the conduct of the puja would upset the peace and create tension. The Supreme Court has in the interim decided to halt the puja, saying that if no Hindu festivities have been conducted on the land for 200 years, why suddenly demand that they be held now? Viewers, many commentators are describing the apex supreme snub of sorts for Hindu sentiments and sabka saath. So why are the commentators making this claim? The law of the land has been applied. The Supreme Court, in all its wisdom, it's a 3-judge bench, has come out and said what it has. Why not accept it? Why should there even be a murmur? Well, perhaps because the High Court had argued strongly for tolerance when allowing the Maidan to be used for the puja. In fact, the High Court put Brotherhood first. What did the High Court say? India has religious, linguistic, regional or sectional diversities. It went on to say the Constitution fosters brotherhood amongst various sections of society. It went on to say that religious toleration is the characteristic of Indian civilization, and therefore the state is permitted to decide on land use for religious and cultural events. This really is what the High Court had said yesterday. And it is because of this that many people are saying that the High Court's decision to maintain status quo on the land perhaps goes against the spirit of brotherhood, sabka saath, and the like. In fact, viewers, let me take you back in time. There are several examples of when Hindus have opened their doors to Muslims to pray in their temples and vice versa. Let me give you a few examples. When Bhaichara prevailed, when Muslims prayed in temples and gurudwaras, a temple in Thrissur district in Kerala allowed Muslims to offer namaz on Eid ul-Adha in 2018 because the mosque in the area, in the locality, was flooded. Gurdwaras in Gurugram opened their doors for Muslims to offer namaz during Eid when space ran out. A temple in Gujarat's Dalvina village allowed Muslims to offer prayers there. And as I said, vice versa. Mosques and dargahs have also opened their doors to Hindus. In December 2020, priests from both Hindu and Muslim communities offered prayers at the Jamia Masjid in Bengaluru on the occasion of a temple fair. On the way to Sabrimala, many devotees offered their prayers at the shrine of Saint Vavar, a Muslim saint who became a follower of Lord Ayappa. In Khanka, Munamia, Dargah and Patna, 70% of the visitors are non-Muslims. So viewers, there is this spirit of accommodation, brotherhood, that could have actually been upheld, avoiding the matter going to the Supreme Court. Now, viewers, there has been precedence with regards to this land also. And while arguing the case for the state, in fact for the BBMP, which is the municipal corporation in Bengaluru, Mukul Rohatgi said that 15 years ago, informal committees had been set up to organize non-Muslim events such as Dasara and even Ganesh Puja here on this parcel of land. So why was this example not followed this time around? Now, viewers, it's perplexing. A little bit of accommodation, a little bit of sadbhavna, a little bit of brotherhood, sabka saath, would have avoided the slightly bitter taste of one side feeling that they have been defeated. Let's open this up. Let's open this up. Is this a supreme snub for sabka saath? Pun intended. Let me go straight across first to Dr. Ranganathan and Abdul Razak Khan, member of the CMA. Dr. Ranganathan, how do you view this particular order by the Supreme Court? Remember that a two-judge bench earlier in the day was absolutely split down the middle. The division bench was completely split. The two justices poles apart, and then it goes through this three-judge bench where it seems that unanimity had prevailed at some level.
Good evening, Rahul. Peak secularism is how I would define it. Peak secularism is when Hindus have to beg for a bit of land in their own country to celebrate their festival for a day. This while governments, both center and state, have usurped hundreds of thousands of acres of Hindu temple land exclusively. Peak secularism is when 70,000 cases are pending in the Supreme Court, but it has time to hear at the 11th hour and then stay a High Court verdict allowing Hindus to celebrate their festival on a disputed land. Two issues here, Rahul, and both, please allow me to delve into them. Number one, the Muslims, let's be very honest, are under no obligation to follow the Ganga Jamni Tehzeeb and all that bunkam of Bhaichara. In fact, their scriptures specifically ask them not to. As Pushpendra Kulshresht quips, Bhaichara, Bhaichara karte rehte ho, arey pata to lagao, bhai kaun hai, chara kaun hai? So why should the Muslims exceed even an inch? They shouldn't. I mean, are we trying to reinvent the wheel here? The essence of Azan is, quote, there is no God but Allah and no one has the right to be worshipped but Allah, 4062. This is amplified through the loudspeaker 5 times a day, whole year round. Rahul, considering anyone else other than Allah as a deity, worshipping it, bowing before it, is expressly forbidden. 17, 22, 23, 12, 40, 364, 555. Al-Kufra Milatun Wahida. Disbelievers are one nation. Quote, do not forget that disbelievers are allies of one another. 873. Do not make disbelievers guardians. 551. Let not disbelievers take disbelievers as allies except when taking precaution against them in prudence. 328. Do not take disbelievers as friends unless they convert, and kill them if they refuse. 489. Also, remember how the best of friends gave away the locations of Hindus like Kanhaiya Lal and Kole who supported Nupur so they could be beheaded. So why do you force Bhaichara upon someone, bhai? And if you do, they will play the victim card of being denied roads and grounds to offer namaz. Dara hua Musalman. All around us, all we see are Dara hua Musalmans, Rahul. From Jammu, where Dara hua Musalmans are shouting from top of mosques that they will behead Nupur Tiwari, to Hubli, where Dara hua Musalmans are pouring onto streets because some Hindu kid photoshopped a Bhagwa flag. from Aurangabad, where Dara hua Musalmans are rioting in the streets because someone said Aurangzeb was a mass murderer, to Kerala, where Dara hua Musalmans are celebrating the Mopla massacre of Hindus. Everywhere you look, all we see are Dara hua Musalmans. Number two, this is a fitting slap, resounding one at that, on the face of the government that loves to call itself secular, but treats Hindus as third-class citizens. Hindus have to beg, as I said, for Waqf land, disputed one, to celebrate their own festival when the governments of both center and state have usurped hundreds of thousands of acres of temple land and are responsible for more than 100,000 temples, losing lakhs of crores in rental income. Welcome to the Islamic Republic of India. This is not our future anymore, Rahul. This is now our present. Get used to it.
Get used to it. Clearly, Dr. Ranganathan pulling apart the hypocrisy at the center of it all. Well, that's his view, viewers. You may agree, you may disagree, but he says it like he sees it. Let's go across to Abdul Razak Khan, member of the CMA. Razak Saab, all of this could have been avoided. I know perhaps you're feeling triumphant today. Of course, your mood swing, depending on the order. Had the Supreme Court gone against you, you would have said that the Supreme Court is suborned, like Mr. Owaisi implied once after the judgment on Ayodhya. I hope at least your faith in the Supreme Court today is restored, number one. And number two, I want to ask you a non-rhetorical question, a fact-based question. And this is very important. Mukul Rohatgi, representing the state government, said that 15 years ago informal committees had been set up to organize non-Muslim events such as Dasera and even Ganesh Puja. He said that one of the parties in this suit was in fact present during those informal committee meetings. So ab kya ho gaya, sir? Suddenly you have become extremely rigid. Is it because you are reacting to what the other side has said sometimes, mandir wahi banayenge? Is this now quid pro quo? Are we going to see everything resolved in an intractable sort of fight that goes up into the courts, etc.? Is that what we have come down to, sir? Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb is what you have spoken about many times, Mr. Khan.
There is no
wo kahan chala gaya?
There is absolutely no feeling of victory or defeat.
Right.
Rahulji, there is absolutely no feeling of victory or defeat. Now let me tell you, maintaining the law and order is the prime responsibility of each and every citizen out here. This issue dates back to
I just want to ask you, sir, 15 years ago. One second. The matter is disputed, sir. One second. The matter is disputed. Please.
Yes, I'm coming to that.
No, please. Let's not. No, I asked you a very straightforward question. So I'm coming back to you and retrying this. Okay? There is no doubt that there is a dispute. The Supreme Court has in fact told the petitioners, the side that the state in fact to go back to the High Court in a couple of days. This is an interim stay. Things can change, though it might be too late in this particular case. So just let's set that aside. I'm only asking you, sir. 15 years ago, an informal committee had been set up. The ground was used for Dasera and even Ganesh Puja. Mr. Rohatgi on oath has said this before the Supreme Court. One of the parties in this suit was present during those informal committee meetings. So what has changed? That's the question I'm asking you. I'm not going into, sir, who the title of this land belongs to. All that will be decided. I'm not going there. Please cooperate with me.
It is very simple, Rahul. Rahul, it is very, very, very simple. Not a single Muslim in the state or in the country would object to a Ganesh Utsav. Even we as Muslims do participate in Ganesh Utsavs. Yeah. We go to Ganesh Pandals. I'm not saying no. It's a very happy occasion, you know, celebrating Ganesh Utsav. Everybody together celebrates this. Moreover, this is not a kind of religious festival. It's a social festival, right from the days of independence. Right. That's right. Lokmanya Tilakji. What I'm trying to come at is some people with some ill intentions, you know, came forward and their intentions were not good. One of them said they want to install a shivling there. It is on every media channel.
No, one second. No, Mr. Khan. Mr. Khan, 1 second. No, Mr. Khan.
We are going to demolish the structure.
Mr. Khan, an undertaking was given. No, excuse me.
There is a Islamic structure.
No, 1 second, 1 second.
They
the
wanted
Solicitor
to demolish
General.
that structure.
Khan
there
Saab.
is a case, sedition charge.
Khan
there is
Saab.
a case 153A,
Khan Saab, don't ignore.
195A, registered on a person.
Razak Saab.
Register hua hai.
Razak Saab, don't ignore the facts. Now, once again, you're going by hearsay, some bizarre people making bizarre comments. I'll just tell you what the Solicitor General said. Categorically stated that any makeshift structure built for the festivities would not hold any permanence. And he was reminded by Dushyant Dave about the Babri demolition. I mean, doesn't this only indicate that the Waqf does not trust Hindus?
Yes, what was the promise of the Chief Minister?
Or the state anymore? I'm only asking you this.
It is not the question of trust. My question to you straightforward, Rahulji. My question to you straightforward, Rahulji. There are 1,000 grounds around this ground. There is a holy ground where LK Advani ji ke khadam pade hue hain. Murli Manohar Joshi ji, Praveen Thogadia ji, Narendra Modi ji, Amit Shah ji, इनके पावन खदम पड़े हुए हैं उस ग्राउंड पे, नेशनल कॉलेज ग्राउंड से. Why don't you go ahead and celebrate Ganesha festival in National College ground? Why do you want to show Muslims that we are above you? Why is this extremist? Why is this?
Let me bring in Mohan Das
mentality
after Mr. Khan
about.
Finishes.
Why do you want to suppress?
1 minute.
Rahul, who is this guy to tell other people, oh, go somewhere? When the
No, 1 second, 1 second. It's the Supreme Court that has told you to go somewhere. No, 1 second, Mr. Pai. 1 second.
Why do you want to celebrate your festival on my land?
Let me ask the questions here.
Why do you want to celebrate Ganesh
1 minute, please. Silence. 1 minute. 1 second. Mr. Pai, I want to ask a question. If the land has for 200 years not been laid claim to by any side except for a few decades ago, why suddenly now, and this was 1965 last, so why suddenly now make this push to change the status quo, the legal basis of the land, etc.? Is it because there is an election around the corner and this land is being used as a tool to polarize this entire issue, this puja, etc.? Simple question.
Rahul, let me make it clear. The title of the land is not in favor of the Waqf. There is no evidence. The High Court has said that very clearly. The Muslims celebrate their festival there 2 times a year. They have a structure there. Rest of the time, people play on the ground, they travel about. It is free to use it in Bangalore. We see it all the time. All right? If somebody wants to have a festival there for 2 days, it's a public land, let them use it. It's not going to change the character of the land. And who is this person to tell people of Bangalore, you go somewhere else, holy land of Advani, who is this fellow? Rahul,
One, please, let's not speak over each other.
Sir,
who is this fellow?
Let him finish.
It happens. Keep quiet, man. Keep quiet, man, please. Keep quiet.
This
let me
property
speak.
was gazetted.
Keep quiet. Let me
It's a gazetted Waqf property.
Keep quiet. Let me speak. The High Court has said the property is not the
Serial
Waqf.
number 137.
Rahul is lying to his feet. The High Court has said the property
I'm going to have to step in here. 1 second. Gentlemen, I'm going to have to step in here. I want to... 1 second, please. Please. Now, Mr. Khan, let's not speak over other guests. Let them have their say.
Yes.
I will allow you. Just raise your hand in the frame and I will come to you like Tehseen Poonawala is doing.
Rahul, in Bangalore, Muslims hold their festivals. They occupy the roads. They occupy large public areas. Nobody objects. We all live together. We understand they have a festival. They all gather together, and it is fine.
Okay, so you're saying a little bit of brotherhood, bhaichara, etc. Dr. Ranganathan says don't expect it, but at least you are saying that, look,
what is wrong for one festival?
Reciprocity.
For 2 days, the people want to use the place. It is not their property. The High Court has said it's not their property. Republic Day has been held. Independence Day functions have been held. People play there all the time. People use it as a public ground. If people want to have a Ganesh Puja there for 2 days, which the gentleman says a social gathering.
So let me on the record. Let me on the record. 1 second. Let me on the record. 1 second, gentlemen. 1 second. Let me on the record say very clearly that the Karnataka High Court on August 26, 4 days back, acknowledge that the ownership appears to be in dispute. It appears there is a dispute with regard to the title of the property in question. So let's first of all establish this, that there is a dispute.
Yes. Yes.
The Waqf Board might say that, look, it is our land and they're entitled to say it. The other side, the state might say that, look, at the end of the day, this is land that belongs to the revenue department or the state itself, and therefore we have a claim over it. And Dr. Ranganathan is pointing at something. I can't say what he is exactly pointing at. I can't see. Dr. Ranganathan, yes.
Just 10 seconds, sorry, I wouldn't have interrupted otherwise, but Mr. Mohandas Pai asked, who is this Abdul Razak Khan? So I thought I'll give him the antecedents of Abdul Razak Khan. He's the guy who live on Times Now said, I will definitely not condemn the beheading of Kamlesh Tiwari. Why should I condemn it?
Oh, come on,
Okay,
man.
so one second. He may be a hardliner, he may be unyielding. So let me bring in Nalin Kohli. Okay, 1 second. Mr. Kohli, let me bring you in. 1 second. The BJP national spokesperson, let me bring you in. Look, someone would ask, is Mandir Wahi Banayenge not as rigid as the position of the Waqf today, Mr. Kohli? And that all of this is being doing, is part of an, all of this is being done, part of an orchestrated attempt to try and, you know, bring in a certain polarization ahead of the elections. What would you say to those people? Because I'll tell you, Tehseen Poonawalla is going to say that. He's going to say that this is an attempt, to polarize the atmosphere, consolidate a vote bank, etc. You know how that goes. Mr. Kohli.
So Rahul, there are two aspects to it, in fact multi. There is of course a religious aspect in terms of celebration and the fact that we are a secular country in which it can't be a one-way street. The second part is a legal aspect, which is what the court is dealing with. And the third is the allegations against the BJP. So let's start with the third, because I'm here in my capacity as a spokesperson of my party. We are pretty used to people raising questions on the BJP and its intent and timing. It has always happened. It continues happening. There is a whole set of people whose full-time job is to find fault with anything and everything and associate it with the BJP. How can this be compared with, say, the Ram Temple? Lord Ram, as Lord Ram, and his association as Lord Ram with Ayodhya does not require a certificate from someone, and if someone is seeking to give that certificate, they can take a walk and go somewhere. I'm saying it as bluntly and openly on television. Second, the place associated with his birthplace is as holy to Indians, to Hindus across the world and in India specifically, as perhaps Mecca is to the Muslims or other important centers for other religions. So I think we cannot trivialize it. No doubt that for political reasons, the UPA Congress government chose to even deny the existence of Lord Ram, but so be it. Lord Ram vests in the hearts of Indians, Hindus across the world, and his birthplace is a special place. It cannot be compared with some Eidgah ground whose ownership or even a lease aspect is in dispute. This is not the first time that the issue let's go to some legal aspects. This is not the first time that this issue has come up. If I recall, around 2010 or so, it had gone up right to the Supreme Court. The argument taken by an organization, Muslim organization from that place was that the Hubli Municipal Corporation had given them the right from 1921 to broadly, if I recall, and that's why I'm subject to correction, let me finish.
Yeah, that's a different Eidgah.
But
Mr. Kohli, different Eidgah.
I take your word on it.
Yeah,
it's a
fact.
Okay, so we'll not move on this. We won't confuse it with this. Fair enough. Now, in this particular case, legally, if I look at it, there is an issue involved with regard to a single judge order, which has been modified by the DB of the Karnataka High Court. And then that modification, in a sense, which means that there is a positive court order looking at no problem if such a festival takes place in terms of the constitutional scheme. That coming up in an urgent mentioning before the Supreme Court, and in effect what the Supreme Court has done is said leave it as status quo and send it back for looking at how it is. Now there will be separate aspects of it that legally have to be seen. A, who has the title of the land? That is the first start. 2, what is and who has the possession of the land? 3, is that possession an adverse possession? Is it a valid possession? What are the terms?
No, Mr. Kohli, all
any
of that will be now.
documentation
Hang
with
on,
regard
I'm
to
just
the
asking you a
ownership,
basic
or
question.
if there's no ownership of
No,
the
I'm only
possession?
asking you a basic question. You know, when
So?
it came to the Ayodhya dispute, the land pending adjudication was vested with the state.
Yeah.
Right? You will remember this. For the longest period of time, it was vested with the state. Darshan was even allowed there, etc. I'm only asking you, you know, the state, as Dr. Ranganathan says, is very quick to take over temple land in the name of mismanagement. It says, oh, well, this particular temple, you see, they don't quite know how to manage their own affairs. We can't even trust them. We can't trust our own Hindus to do good by their own religion, so let's take it over. And routinely, this happens. In fact, it last happened in Uttarakhand, and then you know what happened. You had to quickly roll that back because there was, thank goodness this time, a backlash. 53 of those temples, I'm told, were taken over. It's a fact. Now, I'm just asking, why does the state have to get embroiled in all of this? If the state is allowed to hold Independence Day, Republic Day, for 360 days of the year or thereabouts, the land is a playground, clearly its title doesn't vest with any one particular authority. It's quite clear. If you look at the High Court order, it says that Muslims are only allowed to use this land during Bakr Eid and during the holy month of Ramzan. So clearly, the state doesn't have to go anywhere. It should have just gone ahead and done what it had to do. Mr. Kohli.
Well, certainly, but once the matter goes to the court, then everybody bows to the court.
Okay, bows to
because
the
if
court.
a matter is before the court, and that's what rule of law is.
Yes, Dr.
And you
Ranganathan.
have to, I mean, at the end of the day,
right after,
we also, no, one minute, wait a minute.
Okay.
Even the Ram Janambhoomi temple issue finally came courtesy a court order.
Okay.
So, I mean, therefore, it can't be a two-way street. If it's before the court, we have to respect the court, otherwise you can't have rule of law, irrespective of what anyone's emotions about it are.
Fair enough. Okay. Dr. Ranganathan.
राहुल आप समझ नहीं रहे हो ये इशू लीगल है भले मिस्टर कोहली कह रहे हैं एंड आई डू बिलीव हिम ही इज बीन वेरी एरुडाइट एंड ही एक्सप्लेनिंग दैट द इशू इज लीगल एट इट बट above and beyond the legal I want to ask this question to everyone who waxes eloquent about this Ganga Jamni Tehzeeb आज कहाँ चली गई वो that issue is not legal right that issue is philosophical that issue is moral वो कहाँ है वो सारे इसलिए मैं कह रहा हूँ ये सिविलाइजेशनल बैटल है यहाँ पे एक एक इंच की लड़ाई है जो राम जन्म भूमि को नहीं दे पाए
Okay, Dr. Ranganathan, interesting because that's the opening question. That's my opening question to Mr. Razak Khan. But Mr. Razak Khan is not the type, as you have yourself pointed out, holding up a particular...
Kamlesh Tiwari deserved his fate.
Yeah, so he's not the type who's going to yield. Let me try to bring in Atiq-ur-rehman Saab and Tehseen Poonawalla. Tehseen Saab, let me ask you.
People who have cremated more than 2,000 people.
Okay.
When their own children did not care for the bodies of their parents.
Okay.
Muslims did the funeral rites.
Okay, Khan Saab.
The Vice President appreciated this.
Okay, Khan
We live in this peace and harmony here.
Khan
He never said no.
This guy
Sir, when you
One second. Khan Saab, one second. You have already exhibited, in the past exhibited just how inclusive and tolerant you are. So that's okay.
Yes.
It's fine. I'm not holding it against you. You have a rigid belief.
Yeah.
No problems with that. You know, that's great. That's fine.
All my question is...
It's okay. You don't have to think of Bhaichara, brotherhood, accommodation, sabka saath. Forget it. You're not cut from that cloth. It's fine. We are not saying anything. It's a democracy. We can all have our views. Just like I said, Dr. Ranganathan, some people would be bruised by what he said. That's his view. He comes at you from that view. You come from this view. Don't have to justify it. It's okay. It's fine. We can have two polar opposites that never meet. It's okay. यहाँ कोई शादी नहीं हो रही सर. Opposites कोई attract नहीं करेगा. It's fine. भाईचारा की बात, शादी की तो बात छोड़ दो. भाईचारा की बात पे भी हम आगे नहीं बढ़ रहे. रुक जाइए. 1 second. Let me bring in Tehseen Poonawalla. Mr. Poonawalla. All that the High Court said Okay, all that the High Court said, Mr. Poonawalla, was very simply this. Put brotherhood first. India has religious, linguistic, regional and sectional diversities. Constitution fosters brotherhood amongst various sections of society. Religious toleration is the characteristic of Indian civilization. State is permitted to decide on land use for religious and cultural events. Why does anyone need to go rushing to the courts to say, no, this should not be allowed? 2 days is all that was asked for. The SG goes in court and says that, look, I give you an assurance, no permanent structure will be built. Please trust us. Tehseen Poonawalla, all it required was a little bit of magnanimity. I'm not even talking about bhaichara.
And coming from the Solicitor General, that's a very important, very important submission.
It's an undertaking. The state was giving, you know the consequences. Yes.
The consequences are such, Rahul, and I want to get to the legal part and the political part in a bit, but the consequences of the SG are such, with the Honorable SG's word, that nobody has any faith in the BJP, because it is the same BJP Chief Minister who on affidavit, in written affidavit in the Honorable Supreme Court, promised that a structure will not be disputed. He even went to jail for that, and the BJP continued to felicitate that man. So the BJP's word or the SG's words means absolutely nothing, even an affidavit in Supreme Court. They have already broken their word on the Honorable Supreme Court and felicitated the man who went to jail. That's not the dispute here. Therefore, there is no faith on the BJP or their appointed people. What are the facts of this case? The facts of this case is that what is not disputed, Nalinji, is the possession is with the Waqf party for over 150 years, since 1871. That is not disputed. Sir, may I? I will. Mr. Pai, I respect you a lot. Allow me to speak.
Mr. Pai, let him finish.
I heard you.
Mr. Pai, let him finish. He hasn't had a chance. Let him finish. You can contradict him. You can raise your hand. No problem. Yes. Okay. Go on.
The possession is since 1871. It's not disputed that it was a burial ground for Muslims. It's also not disputed that there was an Eidgah structure there. Now, in 1964, the court case didn't allow the corporation on that land. It in fact prevented the local corporation from entering the land. They've been prevented from coming. 1965, it's been declared a Waqf property, which today the state is disputing. The onus is on the state, which should have challenged the Waqf property, that it is not a Waqf property. Today, a joint commissioner revenue is saying, hold on, this is our property, this is disputed. Where did he come in? Who asked him for permission? Why didn't the state go and challenge it right when it was declared a Waqf property? That allowing a playground there does not change ownership of the land. Allowing a footpath there does not change ownership of the land. Allowing Independence Day, Republic Day celebration does not change the ownership of the land. Nor does allowing Ganesh festival, which I think should have been allowed. But the fact is, why has this come out? One second, I'll come to it. Why
you don't trust the SG, you don't trust the Hindu community, you don't trust anybody.
And I'll tell you why. I don't trust them. Because this matter, after 150 years, has been brought up today in the city of Bangalore, in the state of Karnataka, which is going to pose in a few months. And since the BJP has nothing to show, the revenue officer pulled up some vague order, did not challenge it.
Mr. Poonawalla, if there were ulterior, if the Hindu community was so untrustworthy, 1 minute please. If the Hindu, 1 minute, Mr. Poonawalla, if the Hindu community, 1 second. If the Hindu community is so untrustworthy, they would have walked into the two other masjids,
yes, Kashi and Mathura,
which are evidently built. I mean, there is enough historical evidence.
India
let me finish, sir. Please, let me finish.
Because of people like you.
Let me finish.
It is the BJP that is destroying this country.
No, Poonawalla, Mr. Poonawalla, please, the claims. 1 second. No, Mr. Poonawalla, 1 second. Mr. Poonawalla, the BJP wasn't born. Neither was Sarwarkar born when the first claims to the Babri Masjid, Ram Janam Bhoomi, was made.
I wish to make a small
in the 1800s.
You asked a simple question.
1 second.
You asked a simple question.
When no BJP was around and no organized political party representing so-called Hindu interests was around,
and let me tell you
when these temples were demolished also.
Well, we are constitutional democracy.
And I'm just saying, please. Right? The law of the land has prevailed, even with, yes, obviously no one wants to celebrate the demolition of the Babri Masjid. I think that was a black day. But at the end of the day, 30 years after that, it was the court that ruled. And even in Gyanvapi, the matter is in the court. If there was this great Hindu... No, 1 second. let's get to the brass tacks here. I think this is an issue of trust. The SG says, and you yourself have said it, I don't trust the SG, you don't trust the institutions of the country.
Not the BJP or the SG. Not them. Hindus, of course. If this was a simple
so hang on, 15 years ago, Mr. Poonawalla, you yourself are saying 15 years ago, no SG, no BJP intervened. 15 years ago, on sworn affidavit, Mr. Rohtgi revealed this. An understanding was reached between Hindus and Muslims in this particular place to hold Dasara celebrations. Why couldn't that spirit have prevailed even now? And that's the question I want to ask Mr.
Rahul.
No, please,
Rahul.
that's not fair. That's
not
fair.
Come in,
You're maligning. Now you're maligning the facts.
BJP that is
now you're maligning the facts. Now you're maligning the facts.
It is BJP.
Mr. Pai wants to respond, and Atiq-ur-rehman is waiting.
For a minute, please.
Rahul,
May I come in?
Rahul,
May I also? I also wish to.
Rahul,
I
the
wish to say
title of
something.
the land,
Because
Rahul,
many
the title
allegations
of the land
against the BJP.
is under dispute in the court. We all agree on this panel.
Yes.
The title of the land is under dispute in the court. The Supreme Court also says so.
Yes.
Hindus of Bangalore, not the BJP, want to celebrate the festival there because it's convenient. It's 2 acres in the heart of the town for 2 days. Will the sky fall down if they celebrate the festival for 2 days? The government has assured there will be no permanent structure, no damage to anybody. Why are these people doing all this hatred and this bigotry by denying the Hindus of Bangalore
Okay.
2 days? 2 days.
Dr. Ranganathan wants to come in. Fair enough. It's a point that Mr. Pai has made. 1 second. Let Dr. Ranganathan also finish. Mr. Khan, I have not asked you to intervene here. Please, raise your hand. Mr. Khan, raise your hand if you want to make a point. Let's not speak over each other. Too much chaos. I'm lowering everyone's faders. I'm counting till 3. Okay? Don't make me behave like some class monitor here. You're all grown people. Adults. Come on now. Yes, Dr. Ranganathan, you wanted to make a point. Anyone who wants to make a point, raise their hand. Yes.
Very briefly, I just wanted to underline 2 things. Number one, Rahul, the premise of your debate was not exactly legal. It was moral and philosophical. It was based on Ganga Jamna Tehzeeb. And Tehseen, who is a self-confirmed atheist like me, did not answer that question. Can I now preempt the affable Mr. Atiq-ur-rehman? He is a bona fide Muslim. He is going to say Muslims should have allowed that land for a day for Hindus to celebrate the festival. If a Muslim can say that, what is stopping Tehseen?
Let me ask Mr. Rehman. He's raised his hand. Let me ask, don't preempt anybody. Let me ask Mr. Rehman. Mr. Rehman.
We should allow them, but not the BJP.
There's no BJP here. 1 second, there is no BJP here.
There is a BJP Tehseen.
Listen, the BJP has been maligned enough. Rahul, I need to have a comment also on this.
Okay.
Everybody is going on saying everything on the BJP.
Okay.
I think I should
Mr. Kohli, respond to Mr. Tehseen Poonawalla, and I want to bring in Mr. Rehman right after. Please,
yes, absolutely. I must say it absolutely. Yes, of course. And I must say that Mr. Rehman's waited long. I'm sorry to butt in. But I'd like to say clearly, unequivocally, Tehseen makes 3 comments, and I'll take umbrage to them. He first starts by giving an overview to say that India is secular because of Hindus. Well said. But then I think he should also ask the question that why are Hindus feeling the needs of their Hindu identity coming out there after 70 years of the Republic? Perhaps the story would lie in what was termed as pseudo-secularism, or the state going out of its way under successive government after government after government to say that Hindus, it doesn't matter if you are bashed, your identity cannot be there, but if you have a non-Hindu identity, it's a special identity. So I think it's easy to take that argument without recognizing the reality, and don't blame the BJP for it. The BJP wasn't there when pseudo-secularism was developing in this country, when the word secular was forced into the constitution, in a constitution in which in the opening preamble onwards to there you see images of Lord Ram, Lord Krishna, of everyone. And in that country today, after 70 years, taking the name of Ram becomes a question. Ram is denied in an affidavit. Ram is something that you feel is communal. So obviously there is angst in the country. Don't blame for the BJP for the miscued way in how secularism has happened between 1950 and 1989.
Okay.
Am I allowed to respond in one line?
1 second
Just
now.
one line?
No, 1
Hindus are
second.
feeling
Please,
insecure
after Mr.
because of a
Rehman, I
weak
want to
home
bring in
minister?
Mr. Rehman. Please show discipline. Please. Come on, have some consideration for his time. He sat here 30 minutes. Please. Mr. Rehman, it's a simple question to you.
A weak home minister.
I began by asking a very simple question. Why this supreme snub, pun intended, for Sabka Saath? Why? It could all have been resolved like it was 15 years ago. People could have sat down and said, "Theek hai bhai, you want to do it for 2 days, do it for 2 days. Please go after that." You could have even brought in, drawn up an agreement. Several things could have been done. Yes.
Well, Rahul, I would have loved to see that a 10-day auspicious celebration of the Ganesh Chaturthi being celebrated on the Eidgah Maidan. And many times I think, a lot of things, a host of things are there wherein we people of Mumbai should be teaching the rest of India how we celebrate Ganesh Chaturthi across our state in Maharashtra and especially in Bombay, Mumbai, both Hindus and Muslims. Besides any divisions, we celebrate this occasion in a very, very festive mood. And this argument flies in the face of those arguments which claim that the 5-time azan amplified from the mosques, do not cater to anything accommodative, the arguments which you are posing. What I believe, Rahul, is a congenial atmosphere around the year could make all these things very much possible. The people who are demanding a 10-day Ganesh festival on the Eidgah Maidan are the same people who are objecting to a 10-minute Friday Namaz. So this is either hypocritical on their part or in what context they are quoting secularism, I do not know.
Rahul.
Okay. Very quickly,
Rahul.
Mr. Pai, I need to move on. Yeah.
Rahul,
Yes.
Nobody is denying the Muslim the right to the namaz in Bangalore. Please, I don't want anybody to make the statement. What people are saying is, there's a law about certain decibel levels. Please follow the law.
Correct.
That's all. Nobody is saying. In fact, in Bangalore city, there are more mosques coming up than temples. You can go all around Bangalore and you can see that anywhere you want. What is the harm in 2 days coming? We are in Bangalore. Tyson is not in Bangalore. Abdul Razak is not in Bangalore. Why are they talking about Bangalore?
Okay.
I thought Atiq-ur-rehman talking about Bombay because a Bombay resident. We in Bangalore want to
Sir,
live
I am
together.
very much in
We want to
I
be
am a
together. We
member
don't
of
want a
GMA,
fight. And if there's
representative
going
of
to
the
be in
Waqf
this
Board.
ground, which is a public ground, 2 days festival, let it be. Now,
Mr.
because of the
Poonawalla,
opposition by
Mr.
people from
Poonawalla, do
outside,
you agree? Do you agree that today
It is not a
Sabka
public
Saath
ground.
has
It is a
been
public
impaired?
ground.
Not a public
Simple
ground.
question, by a degree of obstinacy, which could have been avoided. Would you at least concede that point tonight?
I think we have the weakest Prime Minister and Home Minister in the history of our country, that our Hindu fellow citizens like Mr. Pai feeling insecure in our country today. And that's point number one. And Anand, today in the Supreme Court, the SG said it should be a government-controlled temple that should have the festival. And it was the Muslim side that said that government should not be running temples, for your information. So I think we have a weak Prime Minister, weak Home Minister, and that is why Hindu fellow
BJP wants
citizens
to
are feeling
respond.
insecure today.
Nalin Kohli
Very
wants to
weak.
quickly respond. You didn't answer my question, Tehseen Poonawalla. You put it all
I
in
think
some
the
other
festival
court
should be held.
of
I think
appeal
it should
somewhere
be
else.
held.
You should have just answered my question. You went off on a jaundiced, complete tirade against the PM.
May I?
1 second,
May
yes,
I?
but Nalin Kohli would want to
May I?
respond to you.
May I?
Without the government.
Celebrate one thing, Rahul. That
Yeah, of course. I think Mr. Poonawalla has made the most funny comment ever. I have in many debates sat with him where he has said that we have the weakest Prime Minister and Home Minister in Prime Minister Modi and Home Minister Amit Shah. The whole country believes otherwise except from Tehseen Poonawalla, and he's entitled to his view. I think it is to cover up the fact that the Congress party is struggling to find whether a weak, strong leader, because they don't have a leader for their presidential post.
Okay.
So I think it is to cover up that he's making an attack on the BJP leadership.
The point is, viewers, I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole. The fact is very simple. We can choose the path of conciliation or constant conflict. And that path today was illuminated in the Supreme Court. At one point, viewers, Even the Supreme Court said, please, councils, let's not get to the point where we lose our entire conscious attempt at being civil to each other. Now, viewers, the choice is clear. This could have been resolved in a manner that would have actually befitted a great democracy like ours. Yes, Dr. Ranganathan, yes, 30 seconds before I wind up. Yes.
Yes, Rahul, I don't give effusive compliments, but today I must thank you. Because at the end of this debate, please realize that there are 7 people on the panel, including you. And 6 of them have agreed that there should be Ganesh Chaturthi celebrated there. So it augurs well for our country. I think it's beautiful. Thank you.
Well, I wish it was as simple as that, Dr. Ranganathan. But the fact of the matter is, viewers, this is only a taste of things to come. And if this is the way the gavel is going to decide, then, viewers, we know that is an unending cycle. And that perhaps is not the way. We should all stand back today and say, instead of, retreating into our camps, the Modi camp, the Rahul Gandhi camp, this camp, that camp, today we should all think about the one camp that we all belong to, and that is India. Think of that, viewers, tonight. What a beginning could have been made. And I can tell you, it would have been the greatest snub to all these politicians who use religion to whip up frenzy before elections. Can you imagine the people of Karnataka, of Bengaluru would have said, no one's going to divide us, leave. We will do this. What a statement, and what an opportunity lost. Viewers, I'm moving on.